Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on where are you joining us from across the globe. Just if you give me an okay that people are hearing what I'm saying, just checking the connection and the audio.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yes, all right, excellent, good. So, before we jump into the agenda, and as a way to practice using the chat today, please let us know where are you connecting from. We will have an initial icebreaker in a bit too with our amazing colleague Natia. Now, for those of you joining us for the first time, and while we wait for also more folks join from different parts of the world, we know that it's a tough time of the year, especially in the Northern Hemisphere, in terms of joining many of these events. I wanted to tell you a little bit about what we're doing today here and who are we. My name is Mario Picon, and I am the director of the Governance Action Hub. Now, we are an action lab and accelerator for new approaches to governance built on two foundational pillars, inclusion and radical collaboration. Now, let me tell you why we emphasize those two words. It's not just because, okay? We do not champion inclusion and collaboration simply because they sound good on paper or look nice in a mission statement. They are important principles, definitely. Now, we champion them because we believe that they are a pragmatic way to generate effective responses to complex shared challenges. When we talk about exploring new strategies to tackle issues in democracy, in climate, or in general, the delivery of public services, we do not run away from hard discussions about power, political friction, or local constraints. You can call us crazy, but it is better to run toward them, especially as early as possible. Why? Because we think that it's important to promote this kind of heads-on discussion about how to make systems work better despite and while overcoming hostile political environments, entrenched interests, or the shrinking of civic spaces that we have seen in the last few years. The goal in the end is to position your efforts, while making them as effective as possible over time. Now, to operationalize this, we at the Hub work across three interconnected functions. First and most important, our community. Many of you are members of this community already. The Governance Experts Network, organized around action labs, brings practitioners, change makers together to tackle concrete problems. The second function is our projects, right? Like deep on the ground collaborative initiatives in Peru and in Colombia in particular. That's what we have been focused lately. Then you have the academy, right? In our academy, what it's trying to do is to build a shared language, capability, and a framework around new development strategies that prioritize both immediate impact and long-term durability. Now, to explain a bit of why this showcase matters so deeply for all of us, and particularly to me, I want to step back in time a little bit. You see, in the late 1990s, I was a college student in Peru. Like thousands of young people across the country, I also went to marches. I took the streets to join citizen mobilizations against the authoritarian regime of Alberto Fujimori. I wasn't a prominent student leader. Okay, I wasn't politically active beyond already casting my vote. I was just one among thousands in a crowd. I didn't lead. And yet, decades later, when I talk to people from my generation, other people like me, there is still a shared sense of pride. A sense that we met that moment, that we believe that by taking agency, we could defend our rights and restore a democratic society. Now, fast forward to today. Just last month, the Institute of Peruvian Studies in Peru published a sobering report titled Un Combo Peligroso. Sounds better in Spanish. A dangerous combo. The findings of that report are a stark wake-up call, but I wasn't that surprised, and many people in the country are not surprised because this is what you see every day. The results show that while young people today are increasingly interested in political issues, you'll say a good thing, they are simultaneously becoming far more open to authoritarianism and deeply wary of democratic institutions. Sounds familiar? Now, why is this happening? Because when democratic systems fail to deliver basic stability, security, or opportunity, political actors exploit the chaos. Many times, as it happened, they actually cause the initial chaos. They offer a hard stance, promising order at the expense of rights and freedoms. And what happened in Peru, for example, is that we see now that the political forces linked to that very same 1990s authoritarian era have returned to power through the ballot box just 2 weeks ago. Now, to me, and you don't have to agree with me, the core of the problem lies in how we have framed democracy. For decades, we have talked about democracy as a promise made to us, a service delivered top-down that has far too often failed to deliver. I don't know you, but I really think we need a fundamental shift here. Democracy is not a contract executed by politicians. It is a way of life in society. It is something that must be actively nurtured, needs to be practiced, needs to be owned by citizens every single day. Now, why are we here? The NextGen DIY Democracy Labs. When external funding for global democracy networks suddenly fractured last year, young activists from around the world lost critical spaces for learning and solidarity. One of them was the World Movement for Democracy, for example, which is how we were able to find many of the young people participating here. When we reach out to young leaders across the world, the message was, we don't need more lectures. We need a creative space for intentional connection, for collaboration. How do we solve global problems together? Find ways to do this. And that spark became these pilots, NextGen Do-It-Yourself Democracy Labs. Each member of these labs brought invaluable experience as a youth activist or movement leader from different corners of the world, from the Gambia to Serbia to Colombia or the Philippines. Though their contexts differ, their core challenges are strikingly similar. So we ask, right, what happens if we bring them together? Can shared perspectives lead to new tools, to new approaches, to actionable solutions? So what ended up happening is that this group of leaders broke into teams to confront concrete urgent questions like, how do we prepare young leaders to navigate hostile realities of political leadership? How do we use creative tools, activism, and new research to make civic participation more accessible to Gen Z? So today is not a formal academic presentation. You see that we are organized here as a meeting, even not as a webinar, right? Like we want people to participate, to engage. Please feel free to engage through the chat box, through the breakout rooms that we're going to have later during this event. These leaders are here to share what they have co-created, what they have tested, what they have discovered. We invite you, the audience, to please listen actively, offer your feedback, share suggestions, share your experience, and explore how we can collaborate further. I want to emphasize one final point. Today is a showcase. It's not a wrap-up. The pilot phase taught us a great deal about what works, what doesn't, and what these spaces require to succeed. Operating these kind of labs has not been easy, partially also because we live in an ecosystem that structurally incentivizes organizations and people to just compete for resources, for visibility, for credit, rather than truly collaborate. And yet, these young innovators, right, prove that radical collaboration is possible when you build the right vehicle. Our goal moving forward is not simply to scale an organization or scale the labs. Our goal is to expand this portal, this gateway, to provide a safe, supportive environment for the governance explorers to thrive, to test ideas, to fail safely, and to tackle complex governance challenges together in practical ways. So here is what we're going to do. We will hear from members of each lab about their journey and what they are proposing to the world. We will collect your questions on the chat. Please be active on the chat. The chat is a very important part of these kind of events. And we have a few minutes for Q&A about what the labs have been working on. After this, we're going to divide into breakout rooms, and we will promote the interaction among participants through a set of provocative questions about the next steps and other ways to respond to the common challenge each group has been tackling. Then we will have a brief debrief, no pun intended. And finally, we will propose to you ways to engage and take this work further. I hope that you consider them, or we hope to learn from you other practical ways to actually use in a practical, effective way, right, what has come out of this kind of experience. We really hope you enjoy and that you use the interactive format that we're proposing to you. And please feel free to reach out after the event for conversations, probably more in depth about the topics or about the format. Now, to kick us off with presentations, I'm excited to invite a member of one of the NextGen labs, the great Natia Soitse, for an icebreaker. Joining us from Georgia, Natia brings a wealth of experience in civic engagement, in youth leadership, and international democracy support. And she has been a vital part of co-creating this space. Natia, thank you for guiding us. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, Mario. So such a nice introduction. Hi, everyone. It's great to meet you all. I'm Natia. I'm joining you from Tbilisi, Georgia. I'm a human rights lawyer. I'm a civic activist, and I also work in academia. I'm really looking forward to our conversation today. So since we're joining from so many different parts of the world, I thought we'd start by getting to know a little bit about where everyone is coming from. So here's the question. So please tell us your name, your organization, and one thing you recommend to someone visiting your hometown or city or country. It can be a place, it can be a local food, or an experience. And since this is my idea, I'll go first. So as I said, I'm joining from Tbilisi. And if you ever visit, I'd definitely recommend trying Georgian food. And particularly my favorite, which is ajari and khachapuri, which is this boat-shaped bread filled with cheese, butter, and egg. For those of you who don't eat dairy, I'd recommend Georgian wine because Georgia is considered to be the birthplace of wine. And we have some very good crisp whites and some delicious, a little bit heavy red wine as well. For those of you who don't drink, I mean, it's going to be hard in Georgia, but if you don't drink, I'd recommend just walking around Old Tbilisi and experiencing the city. And don't plan too much because Georgians will surprise you and you will end up in some very interesting and surprising places. So now it's your turn, and because we don't have a lot of time, I will give you maybe a minute to come up with your answers. And please, if you could type them in the chat, and then we'll read some of it out loud. So yes, I'm looking forward to your answers very much. Okay, you can start sending your answers whenever you would like. Okay, since there are people who are answering already, we can read some of it out loud if you guys are ready. Oh, okay. So Mario is writing that he loves taking first timers in Peru to one of his favorites, hole in the wall restaurant in Lima, and have a spiciest possible ceviche. Oh, okay. We're looking forward to that. I mean, we also have some very interesting spicy foods in Georgia as well. And people who are unprepared are very surprised. But yes, we do love a spicy food. Hi, Nish. Hi, everyone. So Nish is writing that he's from Freedom Studio Global from Kathmandu, Nepal. And when we're in Nepal, we should definitely try buff choila with rice beer. Oh, interesting. What is the effect? How many do we need to don't remember the day anymore?
Okay, maybe like 3 liters, 3 liters of Tang. It's not like, it's not um too hard. Like, you can pretty much drink it. It's soft, like, you can pretty much drink a lot. So
Okay,
it's good.
okay. So it's not it's not too heavy. Okay, then we can definitely try it. Oh, Leah, you're taking us on a secret meals tour? What? This is awesome. I would like to come. And what is the name of the town you're inviting us to?
It's called Millbrook.
Oh my God. Yeah, I can see that meals are a big part of its history, probably.
Yes, but they're very hard to find. It's back in
Oh,
like the
okay. Is that
1800s.
is that like a treasure hunt? Do you guys have those?
Yeah, it's a bit like that. A bit like that. To go through the woods and over the river, you'd literally have to hop over some rocks in a river to get to the mill. So
Oh my God,
I'll
this
show
sounds
I'll
so
show you the
nice.
secret spots.
Um, okay, I think we got some very interesting recommendations and maybe some ideas for future travels for our next vacations, I think. Because we don't have a lot of time, I think we can continue writing in the chat if anyone hasn't written yet, and we'll go over this and we can read some of those. Okay, I think it's time to pass and hand over to Cherno. Cherno, you ready?
Thank you, Nadia. And thank you, Mario. Absolutely.
Uh,
Christian, welcome.
yeah. Yeah, I think I have about 5 minutes, sorry, 10 minutes to do this. That's enough time, like I said. My name is Chermagay, from the Gambia. I run a civil society organization called Activist at the Gambia, and it's a youth-led civil society organization. And we work mostly on governance, democracy, mostly youth and women political participation. We're very present in the communities in rural Gambia. So most of our work is it's not at the office with laptops and computers. It's mostly in the community dealing with people every day, which is why the work we're doing here is significant, but I think the person who has been impacted the most has been me. I've been blessed to be part of this team, and I've been blessed to be part of um, a group with so much wealth of knowledge, experiences, and everything has been helpful for me. So I want to talk about how this whole thing started. I think when what happened in the US happened, when Trump did what he did, when he cut funding, everybody started asking the same question, especially for us here in Africa. I cannot speak for the other countries. Most of our funding, my organization specifically, my biggest donor is the National Endowment for Democracy, is in the US, right? So we were really affected. A lot of organizations closed. And the question we're asking is, what happens? Like, what do we do now? And the problematic part about that for me and the people in my country and in my part of the world was that to be truthful, we had no alternatives as to what to do in the absence of this funding. Where do we go next? Nobody had a plan, nobody, which is why a lot of organizations got shut down. A lot of people couldn't be as active as they possibly could be. So the idea of the NextGen Labs is like the phoenix that literally rose out of a burnt fire for me and for actors like myself. And so the idea was, with all of these challenges happening, how do we still provide a space, a platform where actors across the world can actually meet, share ideas, and still continue working together? And the amazing part of this for me, my favorite part about this was the focus wasn't the question that every activist or actor who was affected like myself was asking. When this was convened, the question wasn't, okay, so where are we going to get the money? Who's going to bring it in? No, the idea was, how much can we do with the smallest we have? And that was impressive for me. And two groups emerged out of this. One of it was making democracy accessible, and I'm passionate about making democracy accessible because, like I said, I work in the communities every day. I'm with the people, right? Last week, because we are in the election season in the Gambia, last week, I was literally in the communities meeting these young people who are out of the formal sector. They are not in school. You cannot find them in school. You cannot find them in formal institutions. They are like the black sheep of our society, for lack of a better term. They sit at the campe. You would call it ghetto. Campe is a local word for the ghetto. They sit, they smoke, they drink this green tea, this Chinese green tea all day. They do nothing. So nobody talks to them. So we had a caravan where we literally went across the entire country, sitting with these people in every region, finding them in their space, not inviting them, but meeting them within their space and talking about the upcoming election and what roles they have to play, right? This wasn't focused based on money. So the access to democracy, the making democracy accessible group was significant to me. But the reason why I opted to be part of the getting into politics group is because I'm an active politician too. In your opening, Mario, you spoke about how what you did back in the 90s when you were a student. In 2016, when Yahya Jammeh lost the presidential election, when the dictator lost and he refused to leave, and we had a political impasse that lasted for a considerable amount of time. I was in college. I was a student president at the time. So that means I was in the middle of everything that was happening as a young person, right? And so the question was, what do we do now? And I'm one of the people who actually started the Gambia Has Decided movement that led to the peaceful expulsion of the dictator after he lost the election, who is now in Guinea, right? So you were right when you said, even though the problems we are dealing with could be different, context-wise, the context could be different. The core of the issue is always the same. It's always about, okay, we amount of trade.
Hello, is it me or we lost Cherno?
Yeah, I think we lost.
I think we lost them.
All right. Hopefully he will reconnect in.
Oh, sorry, I'm back.
He's back.
I don't know what happened.
He's back.
Don't worry,
Okay.
please continue.
Yes. So I opted to be part of the getting into politics team. And what happened with that was we've been able to, I think we have about six countries that are working on a pilot project. So we have the Gambia, we have Lebanon, we have Serbia, we have Zambia with us, we have Philippines, we have, I think, Colombia. And this team, I'm not going to talk about what we've been doing in detail because we'll have Nicola and Mumbi actually making a presentation about that in detail. However, the question is why? Why did we create these labs? The first thing for me, the most important thing for me that I have learned from this group is that I cannot do the work I do in isolation because the solutions that I think I have for my problems are unique to me and me alone. And what being part of this group has done is it has exposed me to a group of people who have dealt with similar problems in their countries. And so I can borrow some of their solutions, even if I have to make sure that I tailor fit it to the context of my own country. This is the first thing it has created for me. Second, it has created for me a pool of individuals that I can reach out to every time I need support. This has nothing to do with money. This has nothing to do with funding. This has nothing to do with formal appointments. I can literally pick up my phone any day and call Nicola and ask for help if I need it, or ask for some form of direction if I needed it, right? And in my opinion, the creation of this platform was meant purposely for something like that. I have worked continuously with these young people. I have interacted continuously with them and they have benefited me. The third thing for me is, in my experience and from the experience of the people we have engaged with, there is no shortage of young people interested in taking up leadership position or occupying democratic spaces. The issue is most of us, or most of the people who are supposed to be within the spaces, first are ill-equipped. One, some of them are not informed enough to think that, to even know that their participation would have massive impact in the work they do. And this is evident from the work I do and the people I interact with. They think they don't have to vote. It doesn't matter whether they vote or not. Whoever wins is going to win anyway. And the Gambia is a simple country. Like, if I get 50 votes, you get 49, I win. That means every single vote counts. But these young people don't know that. And for them, it doesn't matter whether they vote or not because the government has never done anything for them. has never listened to them, has never come and say, what do you think, has never come and done anything for them. They have been left out of every single facet of governance in this country. So they don't vote. And so I realized it is my responsibility to give them back their power, because the power of the government comes from them. They have one single vote, the president has one single vote. So these are the conversations I'm having. And the interesting thing about that is I'm having this conversation in tiny villages and hamlets in the Gambia. But when I jump on a call like this, we are having the same conversations. So the other significance part of this is, how do I translate these big dreams that we have from the international community, but also if I bring it to the national level, how do I, Chernobyl, interpret or communicate the goals or the policies or the development agendas of the government to the village or to the young person in a hamlet in the upper river region who has no access to ever communicate with the government or understand what their policies or their plans are, right? So the significance of this platform, I'm saying, is that it creates this chain that allows someone like me to travel through it, delivering the message or explaining or bringing the access of what government should do and what it should be like, and the relationship that should exist between it and its people, down to the most ordinary people within my society in the remotest part of my country. And so I enjoy conversations like this because they give me the opportunity to be able to do that at that level while also understanding and contributing at this level. The third thing is, the other thing I wanted to talk about within these platforms that we've been doing is the work has not been so formalized that we find it too stressful to participate in or to be useful. For example, I don't have to be an expert in something necessarily to be part of the conversation. I just have to be an active member of my society who is trying to push for the betterment of that particular society. And then my experience within that context is deemed relevant. So what I'm saying is, within the platforms we have created through this, I can show up as I am and be accepted and be valued for that, right? And the amazing thing for that for me was, I'm going to keep citing the event I did last week a lot because it's my favorite I have done in the election season all year. The amazing thing for me was I was able to go to this campaign, to these ghettos, and explain to these young people the same thing. I was able to tell them, saying, look, you don't have to have a master's degree. You don't have to go to university. You don't have to run a company. You don't have to create a civil society organization. The campaign within which you sit, this ghetto where you sit and engage with other young people, is enough platform for you to meaningfully contribute to what we're trying to do. Fine, don't take the conversation to a hall. Don't invite people to conferences. But within this space, you have a lot of young people coming here. You can show up here, and what you do here is enough. Because that is what this platform showed me. Cherno, you don't have to have experience you don't have to be an expert in what happens in Colombia or in Georgia. Your experience from the Gambia is enough for you to be here. So then I can tell the young man at the ghetto, look, you don't have to be an expert on everything national and political. You can be an expert on what goes on in here, within the campaign, within the ghetto, and your role here, what you do here, could be enough to contribute to the greater goal that we are pushing nationally, that we're pushing internationally. So it's 10 minutes. I don't want to talk too much, but I would also like to explain that I'm also a poet. And what we have done in the Gambia, another thing we have been able to do is use the art for advocacy. So if you look at my YouTube channel, it's a lot of spoken word poetry videos I have done, and every one of them is relevant to some governance issue or some development issue or some education issue or some healthcare issue or some participation issue in the country. And so it touches everything. And so the young person who doesn't want to come to the conference hall and listen to somebody give a lecture or do a presentation for 45 minutes can go to YouTube and listen to a video I did for 3 minutes and get the exact same information, but in a more entertaining way, right? Because I'm cool like that, I do some cool stuff. So, this is what the NextGen platform has been able to do for me. The other thing I would like to talk about is how I have been able to measure my progress based on some of the conversations we are having. And I'm going to be mentioning names. One of the people who have been very supportive and very, very engaging and very available to me since they started until now has been Nicola. Nicola has been there. Just there. He's available for whatever you need. You have a question, Nicola has an answer. He doesn't have an answer, give him some time, he will go find some, right? And I could not ask for more than that. right? And what I am interested in is all of us young people finding that within this platform. So we may have started this because a lot happened in the US, and most of us got lost because we did not know where to go next after all that funding got cut, right? However, after creating this, what we have realized is we necessarily don't always need money to make things happen. Some of the most amazing work I have done since this year started has been no-cost activities, activities that didn't need a budget line, activities I didn't have to have finance approve a check for me to do. We've been able to do that. And the conversations we've been having here reflects the same thing. So in my own way, since this NextGen Lab started, I have been able to replicate what we have been discussing. The conversations we have been having about what we want to do, I have been able to replicate it literally in small scale within my country. Also, you hear me say things like, we did this conversation around the entire country. Don't be too impressed. Gambia is a very small country. You can literally leave Banjul, do a 360 and come back to Banjul before 5 p.m., if you're driving. So the population is less than 3 million people. We have about 8 regions. So when I say we did these activities in every region, we probably did 5 to 6 activities in each region, which is not a lot. That's about 7, 8 regions. So it's not like we have a big population or the country is big. But I've been able to replicate the conversations we've been having on this scale. What I am looking forward to as far as this goes is how do we expand it? 1, 2, we need to create. I'm interested in the platform creating an online resource center sort of, right? Because sometimes, like I said, you need help, you need resources, and you need to make a phone call. But sometimes the people you're calling, they're not always available. So can we have a resource center? And we want this resource center to be something that is collaboratively built. So we want experiences from Gambia, coming from Gambian people who have acted in the field, and then we can have that, and we want the same thing for every other country. And that way, we would be able to access this. And the same way that Natia, that we have the ice breaks happening, and she's tell the stories of what you should check out when you go to their country. It's the same thing I want us to have, but in kind of a different way. Like because I worked in transitional justice process, one of our greatest asset in the Gambia for reconciliation is nothing you will find on any textbook in this country. You will not find it on any textbook. It's a traditional practice called Sanawiya, right? It's these joking relationships you have between every single tribe in this country. And tribalism is an issue. The politicians will turn it into an issue. However, when you take politics out of it and you bring this Samawiya thing, every single tribe becomes a joking partner to another tribe. And this literally eliminates anything violent. It eliminates anything controversial. You will not find people fighting. You will not find them insulting each other. You will not find them arguing or posting demeaning things about each other on social media, because this cultural practice literally forbids it. It's not like there's a consequence. Somebody's going to get locked up or something, but it has been such an entrenched practice. It's considered taboo to go against this practice. That means I cannot do anything or say anything terrible against another tribe. But you cannot find that on any textbook. You cannot find it on any research paper. They will not talk about it, right? But these are the things I want the world to know about us, the things that are not captured in the books, the things that when you go to the camp and the ghetto, the kind of conversation you have with those young people, how they are affected, what role they should play in society, how the decisions that are made at national level that me, an active member in the civic space, explaining that, how do I explain to them what role they have and how these lines written by some guy in a fancy suit affects their life every single day? Who gets to do that? Now I get to do that, but I need a channel to go, because not everybody can talk to the young people at the ghetto. They speak a certain language. I mean, every young person who grew up in the Gambia has been to the ghetto or goes to the camp. Like, it's not, some of us go there more than others, but everybody's a member. And so whether it's a NextGen lab that has 6 countries or all the countries in the world in them talking about how to solve problems, or is me going to the camp where you have 15 or 20 young people sitting, brewing attire and smoking, it doesn't matter how big the space is, the aim is the same thing. And I'm saying we should be able to speak the same language at this platform. And that is the language of inclusion, that is the language of collaboration, that is the language of making so every member of society knows they have a role to play and they understand what that role is and how to play it, but not just to play it, how it connects to the role of the person next to them. and how we must build on that. Because in my opinion, that is what brought the NextGen labs together. If it wasn't for the fact that we need to collaborate, if it wasn't for the fact that my experience in the Gambia and what's happening in the Gambia is relevant, if it wasn't for the fact that even though I've never met Natia, I've never met Chen, the work they are doing is relevant and connects to what I am doing, there's no need to be on this call. So we're creating this platform, we're coming together because everything you're doing in your country in one way or another is linked to what I am doing here. And though the contexts are different, we must be able to learn, to borrow from each other, to collaborate with one another, and to support one another. And like I said, the support doesn't always have to be finance. In the Gambia, every time you ask civil society, what's your biggest challenge? They will say money. I think that's a universal language. But the NextGen labs have taught me that we can do a whole lot in the absence of money. We can do a whole lot, right? And not to take too much of your time, I will cap it there because, like I said, Mumbi will be, and I forgot to mention Mumbi. She has been very, 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 very instrumental. She's a brilliant young lady. And Mumbi, don't get me wrong, she's a very serious person, and she's an expert in what she does. Like, her work is always beautiful, right? She always comes with her receipts and everything. That's something I really admire with the way she does her work. But since I'm a poet, and I just wanted to illustrate exactly what I do with the poetry I do in the Gambia. I'm going to do just a short version, 1-2 minutes of something. I call this poem Contradiction. It became one of the most popular in the country. And so I'm going to share. I may have forgotten some of the lines. So if I miss a line, like we would say in the Gambia, just smile and clap, yeah, or smile and nod since we're on a video call. Yeah. This is called Contradictions, and here we go. They have got papers printed for purposes. They have got policies propped up for popularity, principles piled up into portfolios for promotion, propaganda perpetuating prolonged public paralysis, the people pairing up against one another for the promise of prosperity, their pride and prejudices propelling their propensity for conflict. This is a race for personal progress. There is no love lost between you and them. You are pawns in their games, ritual sacrifices to the true gods. They worship power that kills the truth with appropriate lies, power at whatever price, power at the expense of our lives, power that leaves us vulnerable without the strength to fight. Check. We have got homes loaded with love, left to rot, children to raise in the name of God. We forgot. We teach them obedience without questions like I, robot. So they grow up physically strong but mentally weak. That's a kill shot, a dead drop, a blind spot. It must stop. Check. Our people have jobs but cannot feed their families. That's a contradiction. The education system is better, but our graduates cannot develop these countries. That's a contradiction. Our role models are criminals in suits and ties. That's a contradiction. Our young people are like inexperienced gamblers putting their futures in men without futures themselves. That's a contradiction. The minister is a con artist. That's a contradiction. Our hospitals are like slaughterhouses. That's a contradiction. The National Assembly member is a puppet whose strings are being pulled by the mechanics of party interests. That's a contradiction. Our presidents are allowed to lie. That's a major contradiction because we've got a nation to build, populations to teach, generations to free from the mistakes we have made and the lessons we cannot propagate because the subject is forbidden. This young man is weighed down by your burdens, held down by the pillars put together to lift the few and drown the rest. This young man is kept in chains by the laws that put one man above another. This young man is a victim because the past taught him that when kings become killers, then there's no place to hide. So all he can do is run and hide and pray to God for a miracle he knows won't happen. This young man, that young man, all of you young people, no one is going to do for you what you're supposed to do for yourself. So stand up for yourself, speak for yourself, act for yourself. And when time or circumstances call for it, fight for yourself. Because the phrase has never been youth empowerment. It has always been youth, I am power. Man, thank you.
That was a mic drop. That was amazing, Cherno. I mean, thank you so much for sharing that with you, sharing
Thank
your
you.
art with you, sharing your experience with you, not only with the lab, but your life experience here. I am very thankful for this. Now, this is the perfect segue to introduce right away First of all, Celine Samson and Nish Karal from the Philippines and Nepal, respectively, who are going to tell us about the work that they have been doing under the Making Democracy Accessible lab. Celine, Nish, they're going to tell you more about this experience and all. Then we will move to the experience of the Getting People into Politics lab that Cherno has already been talking a little bit about based on his experience. So if that is okay, Celine, Nish, please take it away. Welcome and thank you for being here.
Thank you, Mario, and thank you, Cherno, for sharing with us that poem that you made. I think it fits very much perfectly into what we would be talking about today, which is how art is being used in artivism. My name is Chin. I am one of the lab members of the Making Democracy Accessible for Young People lab. Okay, so I would just want to make sure that you're seeing the screen right now.
Yeah, all good.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Okay, so in the last few years, we have seen a shift in how young people are showing up for democracy. They're showing up very loudly, very creatively, as evidenced by Cherno, and also in massive numbers. You've probably heard of the Milk Tea Alliance here on the right, which was a meme-filled pro-democracy movement in Asian countries that love to drink milk tea. Or you might have also heard of the Rave-volution in Georgia, where young people literally danced in front of parliament in protest against police violence and against Russian authoritarianism. And of course, there was Nepal, where last year's Gen Z revolution against corruption had helped spark similar movements across the world in Peru, in Madagascar, in Indonesia, even in India just last month. So, my lab mate Nish and I will be sharing the results today of an informal research that our lab did. Because when we looked into these movements, these recent movements, there was a similar thread that we found through all of them, which is art. We wanted to understand what role does art play in these recent movements, in whatever form it fit the local culture, whether young people used memes, TikToks, raves, theater, poetry, pop culture, and even comics. So we documented many different movements, we mapped it, and now we want to share what we found so that hopefully we can learn from it, we inspire others to replicate it, and hopefully to support it. So, our lab consists of 4 young civil society leaders from Nepal, Brazil, Georgia, and the Philippines. We spoke to young people in our countries as well as some others in the region who are our friends about why young people have been staying out of movements, why young people don't participate. And 3 things came up a lot of the time. First is safety. For example, in the Philippines, being publicly associated with activism can get you tagged as a terrorist or as a communist. In Georgia, LGBTQ youth faced police targeting in their own techno clubs. Another barrier for participation among young people is economic costs. Participation takes both time and money that sometimes students or working youth just can't spare. And also, one other thing, I think it was something that Cherna also touched on. Oh, and Tanya in her comment, is a feeling of powerlessness, is a feeling that you can't overcome a huge problem in your country. For example, corruption. Young people sometimes feel like nothing they do would matter. But here's what we did find though. When the entry point to activism is joyful, is creative, and is not intimidating, young people show up. And in the countries that we studied, that entry point had something to do with art. Which brings us into this thing that we created out of the research that we made, which is called the Artivism Atlas. The Artivism Atlas is a living library on art plus activism or artivism that we developed. Our research started with one simple question, which you can see here at the top. As civic spaces shrink worldwide, how are young people using art to make voices count, to make their voices count? And so to answer it, here is what we did. You can see it on the screen right now. We studied 9 movements across 4 continents. We covered South America, South Asia, and Southeast Asia, Eastern Europe, and a little bit of North America. We also did a literature review on how activists are using art, or how they're doing creative resistance, and how are they doing civic participation. And then we also did key informant interviews. We spoke directly with artists, activists, organizers, creative directors in the 6 countries, through in 6 countries through key informant interviews. And so we're here today to share the lessons that we've found, have made, what has actually worked for our specific contexts, where does artivism fall short, and what to keep in mind for anyone who might want to do the same. One thing we do want to say is that artivism is not new, and you would see it here in the chronology, in this timeline, chronology of resistance that we made on the website. And by the way, you can access the website through artivismatlas.org. It's not new, but what's new is the speed, I would say, in which young people are able to learn about new movements, and also participate in them. That it also lowers the barrier, right? So this is the centerpiece of the site. Here we go. The map, or the atlas, the global atlas. So far, we have documented 14 movements across 5 continents, and each flag you see here is a movement. You click it, you get a pop-up. It shows you the name of the movement, the art form that was used, and the year that it was done. And then when you click it, it opens to this part. Let's here we go. So here you would see the spark that triggered the movement, the core challenges that was being faced by the movement, the key symbols that they used as part of their artivism, whether that was a fist, a lightning bolt, a TikTok, the tactics that were used by the artivists, and the lessons learned as well. So this map, we built it in this way so that we're not just documenting what has happened, but it's to give organizers around the world, anywhere, a starting point for doing it themselves as well. And here we invite you to visit the website, so you can look for a movement that could be applied to your own context. You could read about how they've done it, how others have done it, and maybe you could also try it where you are. So in our study, there were 3 things that consistently made artivism effective, or what made it work. This is a synthesis of our findings, but you'll see more in the website. But the first thing is emotion, or emotional resonance. For young people, art works because it makes you feel something before it asks you to do something, right? So when we heard Cherno speak, I suppose we felt things first, right? I felt anger in some of what Sharon was describing in his poem, and I think that's one of the most powerful emotions that we could elicit or use to get people to the table or to the streets even. Another thing is accessibility. The best artivism symbols are ones that could be very easily reproduced. I'd like to give an example right here. So in the Philippines, one of the symbol of the previous administration was this fist. That's facing towards you. But one political cartoonist, he did to express his frustration about the COVID-19 response of the government. He did this cartoon where he put one fist up. Um, And overnight, an artivist collective called Dakila, they created a website where people could make their own avatars or their own version of the fist, which you see here. So from just one fist standing up, it became two, it became four, until it became hundreds and thousands of people adding their own versions of the fist. So it's very easily recognizable, and also it's very accessible. And lastly, I would also like to say that what makes artivism work is the feeling of belonging that it could create in communities. One thing that we notice is that when art is native to the community, it feels more natural to join. As I mentioned, there are barriers for young people to participate politically, right? Or to participate in a democracy. And what's important for them is that they feel like it's very natural for them to join. So, for example, in Georgia, if the culture is already all about techno music, about joining clubs, it really worked in their context to use raves as part of their protest. Or in Brazil, one of our lab members, he highlighted an experience of the Black community in Brazil. They had used rap to express their feelings about social injustice. And rap had been part of the community already, so it wasn't so foreign to them. Um, and I wanted to highlight this very nice quote from one of our interviewees, speaking to the pull of emotion. She became an activist at 11 years old. She's now in college, but she started her activism when she was 11, and actually it was artivism, because she helped start a community theater in the Philippines, where they used theater to talk about torture in jail cells in the Philippines, because the village where she lived at is where they found hidden jail cells in police stations in the Philippines where they were torturing young gang members and out of school youth. And she told us, she said, I was pulled into activism because of art. It's so powerful in communicating your message, in creating the transformative change that you want to happen, because it taps one's sensory feelings. You can see it, you can feel it, and you can hear it. One of the most important lessons that we have also learned from doing our study is realizing or hearing from the practitioners that art is a jump off point, not an end point. The art is a door, it's not the destination. Also in one of our interviews, one of the things that they do is sort of like they use art as a Trojan horse. One of the interviews that we did, Dakila, which is an artivist collective, they use film screenings, board games, comics, and concerts as sort of a Trojan horse to get young people to be curious about human rights issues in the Philippines. So, for example, they do a film screening about a topic that doesn't necessarily seem very political. But then after a screening, there is a talk back session, or where you discuss. They have a discussion about the film, and it sort of opens the minds of the young people who are attending, that there are particular themes that were being discussed in the film. Um, Again, there was a very nice quote from one of our interviewees, speaking to the point about art just being the jump off point, about not just relying on art alone to do the work. He said, when we talk about art and activism, it's always a battle of narratives. And these narratives won't just magically take root in people's minds if you're only telling the story once. So you can't just rely on the art alone, right? You have to have follow through after. Now, where does artivism fall short? And what are our tips for people who want to replicate it? I'll let my lab mate Nish tell us all about it.
Sure. Thank you, Chin, and hello, everyone. Once again, welcome to this session. Chin mentioned how artivism, why artivism works, how does it work, and I'm going to highlight where it falls short, especially its vulnerabilities of creative resistance. So as you can see in the slide, there are few shortcomings of using artivism alone for social movements. First thing that we saw during all this research and interviews and literature review is that using of artivism alone for social movement might not yield towards a positive response, a result. Uh, it's what we saw was this kind of um, movement using artivism. There has been very fast changes in the government. We have been able to see movements have been able to topple the regime or win quick, have a quick victory of such resistance. Really consolidating those kind of gains requires institutional support or organization behind such movement. And for example, what we saw in Sri Lanka was there was a lot of artivism happening. The Aragalaya was a campaign that artivists did every day, coming to the street, protesting in a creative form. But and yes, that led towards president kind of resigned, fled the country. However, in no time, same old political traditional elite kind of took the government, took the in charge, right? Why? Because there was no any organizational backbone. There was no organizing component was not kind of intertwined with this artivism. It was just played separately. And that's what we saw not only in Sri Lanka, recently in Bangladesh as well, old traditional elites are taking the charge of government. In Philippines, there was huge internal fragmentation because they were not strategically, movement builders were not strategically structured to sustain their movement. So basically, activism should be paired with organizing to make it work. And if it doesn't, then there is a high likelihood of it being failed. Also, art alone cannot change policy because art rely heavily on or focus heavily on shifting the culture, shifting public awareness, but really changing laws and policies requires this unglamorous, campaign in legal field, in political and social layers, right? So, and that's what we saw in the US of this Oakland coal anti-coal campaign, where uh, yeah, they were able to kind of mobilize people. They were able to um, drive social cultural awareness on broadening participation against the coal campaign. However, it really required this a legal campaign to like legislative process to kind of ban coal transportation, and it shows that it should be paired with also other types of campaigning. So activism alone cannot change policy. Um, what we also saw is, as art rely mostly on shifting the culture, enhancing empathy, and raising public awareness. Um, we saw that there is a high risk of them being repressed, because like this kind of like art can expose organizers, expose participants to several state surveillance and arrest, and can create a physical harm. So, uh, so, so there is a necessity for this quick adaptation of new tactics, right? So, what we saw in Bangladesh, for example, was since since independent journalists were being arrested in this protest, they were using this printed stickers, or activists or artists were using this printing printed stickers with QR code of those news, and was putting it in several public transportation so that people could just access those news, and they were like adapting to what repressive government were doing. Yeah, and yeah, we saw, as I think Sheen also mentioned, a lot of the messaging that that doesn't resonate with um, people can fall short. So really, it has to come from the people. It has to be co-created by the people. So that's another component that we saw, that if it's not co-created with the people, then optimism might not work. And most of the time, what we are seeing right now all around the world, that the activism Trump has been a kind of trending in social media, and especially in the donor, in development sector. But like only to produce like some reports, or create videos or animations for the donor reporting, and really treating it as a decorative style will not bring a desired result. It has to be, again, co-created with the community. It has to have this originality on it. And talking about what to keep in mind, um, so we saw there are several things, as I think I'll be repeating some of the things that I was telling earlier. But uh, but one thing that we wanted to urge activists is that change takes time, and really we have to understand that one artwork cannot change. It's a really slow and persistent, often a generational struggle that we have to do. And an artivists should not feel pressure, and just creating a change in 1 or 2 day with single piece of art. It's rather a continuous process. So that's kind of a principle that we want to highlight. Um, Also, what we saw, um, I was giving earlier example of Sri Lanka and Bangladesh. We might create, you never know. Like for example, in Nepal, you never know. There might there can be instant change in the government, and then you might have a huge crisis. So really building the structure, really building this leadership pipeline, or even like legal footing before this big crisis hits, is very important. So activism should come along with this huge component of preparing for the leadership, preparing for organizing. And I think we right now, we are discussing a lot about leaderless movement or leaderful movement, right? That's the big crisis or threat that I'm seeing in social movements. Yeah, it has been able to unite people, but what after that? What after certain policy, like you are struggling on a certain policy or certain government. What after like the the kind of there is a vacuum or somebody resigned, like the authoritative government resigned, then what happens after that? Really planning after that, kind of looking into that scenario is very important. Also, equally putting artivist safety in mind is important because, like if you wanna, we are not doing a one particular tactic, right? We are really running a campaign, and it needs a strategy, and the safety is, I think, the first component of that big strategy. We have to make sure that artivists do not have this personal risks and exposure to the heavy pressure of the government. Also, um, yeah, there are several things to keep in mind. As I was telling earlier, like co-created with the community, really find this niche for this community, um, the language of community, organic language of community, and find their own stories on that, building that artwork. Put yourself first, like artist, there is a high risk for artists to be born out, so um, make sure that there is a fun component. And artivism, I think artivism does that, like art itself counters the burnout that art can feel, because art itself is very emotional, and it's it's engaging. So yeah, I want to stop here, but like please, I think it's in the next slide, but please go back and look into this mural section of our website. All these findings that we have mentioned have urged us to develop this digital mural section in our Artivism Atlas portal. The idea behind this is to really create a collaborative digital space, for artists like us to come and play with it and put some thoughts in it, and and who knows, like we can maybe some of the art that we create or some of the practice that we do may become a viral symbol in future, like like what we saw in Poland a few years earlier. So yeah, please go ahead and look into our website, artivismatlas.org. And please also let us know if there is anything that you would like to add, any other movements in map section. Um, yeah, that's it from my end, and I'd like to pass it back to Chin.
Yes, thank you, Nish. And also, yeah, we just wanted to end on the note that the Artivism Atlas is not a finished document, it's a living library. And so we'd love to add more movements. If you know of any, if someone or something comes to mind and you think it should be in this atlas, please let us know. Um, yeah, and feel free to reach us out through these numbers. But we want to thank you all for listening. And thank you as well for Mabato's reflection. I think you really hit the point in the importance of having art, like the importance of using art as a tool in influencing public perception. I go back to what Cherno, you made a mark on me today. But I love what you said earlier about like I'm cool, so that's why I'm gonna do spoken poetry. And I think that speaks a lot to how we should be appealing to young people, right? There are particular things that they see as being cool, and if activism is too intimidating for them, or it scares them, or it makes them feel powerless, how do we make it cool? And I think using art is the best way to use it, not just as a form of expression, but helping them understand the world around them better. And so we really look forward to the breakout session later. We would love to hear your thoughts. Maybe there is something that is missing from this atlas, this library that we have developed. Maybe it inspired you to do something. We would really love to explore all your thoughts later in the breakout session. Thank you.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much, Nish and Chin. So many things really to comment and share about this. Of course, as it always happens with these kind of events, we are way behind schedule. But guess what? I mean, like, I really think that it has been worth it because it is incredibly important to hear this kind of perspectives. It's not about the lab itself and the process. It's in the end about what you guys have been had the space to research, to get to dig deeper into. So I just want to be fair also. We're going to have to cut a little bit the Q&A part, but I wanted to check as maybe somebody has to take a quick break to go to the bathroom or for additional coffee or whatever it is. Just opening it up. If you have a like question that you want to share with the or a comment that you want to share with Nish, with Celine, also with Cherno, right? Like, please write it down on the chat or raise your hand, your virtual hand, so we can just pass you the mic and you can act directly as people. Let us know. I do want to be fair to one of the questions that we received, Chin and Nish, really quick from Mabato, which is very much about any experience or any cases that you have seen where there has actually been some sort of a collaboration between artivism and some public sector officials or public sector work with the government in general. Because typically we imagine this as a tool to garnish or to gather perspectives for either resistance or proposing something new, right? Like, or different antagonists in many ways to the government. Have you seen it working in a different way, in a collaborative way? I guess a fair question. And please, everybody, think about the experiences that you may have had in the past with artivism, or how maybe this conversation is changing a bit of like the preconceived ideas that you had about artivism, not only as a tool, but also as a way of expressing and bringing people together. Ching or Nish, if you want to react to that question.
In the Philippines, I would say one of our interviewees gave a very good example to that. She was the community theater artivist. So for them, they used theater, right, to communicate, to explain the human rights issues and with the torture that was happening in the hidden jail cells in her community. They were able to get the gang members who were tortured to become the actors themselves in the community theater. But also their community theater gained enough traction that they were invited by the Philippine National Police headquarters to stage their theater play at the headquarters, because the issue was with the police. The police were doing the torture. And so when I heard that had happened, it brought chill. I got goosebumps. And it also helped pass the anti-torture law because it helped make the issue more understandable for the public. They have also done the same for teenage pregnancy. But yeah, that's one example I could give.
Yeah, there is another example from Brazil as well, and I know our lab member Eduardo is here, and like he was doing this interview with hip hop artist, and I can say like by reading his interview notes that there were a lot of like community members, experienced community members who were engaged as an MC or like peer-to-peer facilitator, community mentor in this process of like mobilizing this or expanding hip hop movement or even like coordinating rap battles. So I think there are very little example of how artivists have collaborated with state actors, but I think there are so many examples that we can see how artivists have collaborated with community leaders for a cause. Thank you.
That's awesome. Thank you. Well, so much more to share. Please, if you feel inspired and you feel that you want to share something, remember, we're going to share the chat box with everybody after the event. So also, hopefully, we can encourage some communications and exchanges. Maybe you are meeting a soulmate in the way that you approach activism or in the way that you approach getting people into politics through this. Get together. If you need help connecting people that are present in this or after you're listening to this over YouTube, please reach out to us. We leave contact information related to this so we can connect you, or go ahead. Don't be shy. Connect with others that have been part of this event. So now I'm going to pass the mic to our mighty group on getting people into politics. And here I have the pleasure of being able to present my friends, Mumin Amwawa, right? And the famous Nico Nesik. Thank you so much for being here from Zambia and from Serbia, representing a group that has, as Cherno was saying, like been working across 6 countries. Please, Nico, Mumbi, go ahead.
Thank you, everyone. So I'm happy that all this happened. I would like, first of all, to thanks to Mario, Riota, Tracy, Leah, and my team, because this happened. This amazing journey for last almost a year. It was such an amazing thing what we done, and how many ideas actually get on our own mind, and how the situation and how the global perspective are complex. Actually, it show even into every single group, even into our group. So this means that in start we have Lebanon, we have Colombia. In Lebanon start war while we have this project. Now we have big earthquake in Colombia. A lot of issues, a lot of things which think us to think how we can help each other, how we can actually be one global family. And I'm happy that I'm here and part of all these things. And now I will start to represent our project, what we are done till now. But before I start, I would like to ask one more question to all of you. Think about, so every one of you have your own personal path, your own personal way. Where are you planning to do, even in your business, even in your family life? So what's next step? What will makes you to be better in what you are doing now? So which training would you like to go? Where to go? So I will let you to think like 20 seconds. Just think a little bit. Where to go next? Think. Did you hear me? Yeah, sorry, it was on my plan to be that long, but electricity just stopped working. And now I need to switch it on
This
cell
happens,
phone.
but
So yeah,
we
just to check battery, I have battery, it's good. So we will have this meeting. Unbelievable.
we did hear you. We were thinking. We were actively.
Yes. Okay, stop thinking now. Now we can continue on our presentation. Sorry for this. So I will share now my screen. So what's actually the getting into politics means? So when you're starting being into politics, and if you're young, just few years into politics, so mostly everything what we can see and what we can find is some trainings which is for everyone, not specific, not only for you, it's for everyone. And we are thinking about how to change it, how to actually make everything more personal. And that's how actually idea start. So when, like I said here, when capability crisis, it's not a value crisis. And what standard program, what in politics exists? It's about political system knowledge, civil engagement network, policy content, processes, electoral participation. So it's all these things what actually is happening and what you can pass. That's actually my personal story. I start like 10 years ago, not now, even 12 years ago, I start my political career. And you know, I doing by myself. I didn't want to be in party. I didn't want to be in big system. I want to create my own system with my friends, and then we create society. It became bigger and bigger, and our group is became from city level to the national level. But we're doing slowly, and I wanted so much to change it. Now I'm back into the business. I'm not anymore in national parliament, but my vision is to help others not to go that slow like I did. I want to make it faster, and how actually that can happen if we train well. So one is talent, but if we train, if we think what is exactly for us, then we can make the progress. And then I was thinking how to make it that specific, how to go deep. And I'm happy that now I'm working in a business company named Hansenbeck, a German company. And I'm happy that now I connect that with R4D and with my amazing group. It's from Mumbai and Cherno are part of this group, and also Esteban from Colombia. From Lebanon, and from Philippines we have Luis from Philippines, and we have Rahaf from Lebanon. So what we find out that we don't need training in start. We want first to make assessment, and then we separate our group into two parts. One is for soft skills, another part is for hard skills. I was leading this part of soft skills because I'm working in soft skill training company, and hard skills is created by Mumbai. Actually, everything is created by the group, but like leading of this co-group is Mumbai. And then we're starting thinking and developing everything deeper. So I will start first with soft skills. So we are measuring behavior part of everyone of political, I can say, talented young people. So we split it on 4 dimensions, like mindset, skills, results, and influence. Why I'm especially proud, it's about influence, because everyone actually is thinking about skills, mindset, some of them about the results, but very rare that somebody think about the influence. And I think in politics, the influence is the so essential things, because if we are speaking now, it doesn't matter what we spoke if the other person who we are speaking do nothing. It's very important to make people to do something after we speak. So then all these soft skills we split on 10 pillars. Like if it's mindset, it's like self-knowledge, resilience, empathy, democratic accountability, and so on. So, and then we go even deeper. So we have even facets. So we have 40 different questions, 40 different behavioral questions which show us where are you now and help us how to see to which group you will belong afterward. And then we develop also the hard skills. Hard skills, it's also about how you are with data? How are we with campaign trainings? How are you with making policy papers? So this is also so essential to have soft skills and hard skills. Why is that essential? It's essential also for our partners, because if we have this global perspective, it's not so easy to do everything by ourselves. So we must include all of you. We must include even more people in this, because we need people we need trainers. We need people who will be assessed. We need to make from them trainers, because we need to, if for democracy, if we make people strong enough, strong individuals, then society and democratic surrounding will be better. So at the end, how actually, I will show you afterward the reports. So everyone will have 20-page reports. So I said that we have 4 dimensions, 10 pillars, 40 facets. So per every pillar, we will give at least 2 recommendations what to do next. So it's your personal development plan. It's not something which is common to all, to your state. It's exactly just for you. And that's why it's so important. I will show you just how it's look one facet. So towards oneself. So we give, as you see, 2 starting points for this pillar, what to do. And I will give you the right example after how actually the whole personal development report look like. What I'm happy also that we can connect, for example, one country and see where is the whole country. We can connect like 10 people, 15 people. So it's very good to combine all of these things. Why? Because it's not in real that we, at the end, when we have the trainings, it's not the real things that we will have like one-on-one, because then it's not a training, it's coaching. But if you want to have training and to connect people who will train, something which is very common with all of them, this for us, it's important to make this cohort report. I made it one like few people from the global perspective, because at the end, I would like to see how the youth think globally in our world. So what this means? So one custom selection, it's mean like 3,9 mindset, skills, results, influence. So as I say before, always the influence will be the lowest, and we must work on it. Why? And I hope that you think the same, that influence is very essential to all of us, because it's inducing others to act. And what this group of 10 people show us, that actually we can work with all of them, but only 70, not only, it's a big group, but 70% actually are matching nice. So we can actually work with them as a group. But with 30% of them, we should find other way how to combine people, because there is a big difference, big gaps between these 30% of people, which is in report. So this is how actually we can see the combined measures of the whole country, of the group people, of the, for example, women in Gambia. So this is good thing where I'm the mostly proud. So this is how actually you can combine like behavior pillars, like soft skill on the left side and hard skill on the right side. So what this showed to us? This showed to us that first we need to this group make these hard skill trainings for digital and data. Then they need more for government and legislative things. So, we didn't know in start what is for this group essential, but now we know, and that's how actually we are thinking when we're creating the group. I see. I would like to speed up a little bit now, because I would like to hear the questions and answers. Just I would like to share how everything's actually is going. So first we made assessment. Then the second thing, we created the groups and we made the trainings. Then we put in real life all these people to do their jobs, their careers. And then after 9 months to make reassessment to see the progress of our trainings and their personal development plan. So are we have success or we don't have success? So how actually the software look like? It's like this. I hope you saw it. We have now on English and Spain. The questions are done in also Serbian, like we can say that we are now present in Balkan, but all software is on 2 languages now. So we have here that few people make this self-assessment. So it's like these 40 questions, soft skill, and 20 questions, hard skills questions, 360 degrees. So after you finish self-assessment, you can ask your peers, you can ask your mentor or someone who is below you, or you can ask even community what they think about you. Why is that important? Because this report makes you even more objective than it is, like self-assessment. Because every one of us likes ourselves. So even we make it to self-assessment to be as objective as possible. These 300 degrees questions give us even more objective. So it's even more precise. So you can see assessment, how it meant. You can see here it's the list of participants. So I'm very proud and thankful to Tracy, Lee, and Mario that actually they bring even Peru now. So we have like 201 participants now because we opened to Peru also. And now I will just share a little report to see how actually report look like. So when it's like this cohort report, it's short, but at the end you can see like what is in hard skill, what is in soft skill module, where this group are actually in this moment. And what the most important things, why actually we are doing all of these things, is what to do next. What is next step? So here at these cohort reports, we will always have 6 suggestions what to do next, and actually how to create the trainings which actually is just dedicated to this group. How actually the personal development plan is going to look like. So the example from Lebanon. So you have like 28 pages, what to do next. So as I say, like 4 dimensions, 10 pillars. So for example, this is communication. This is a little report about communication of that person, and 2 starting points, what to do. So this is now not for the group like cohort report. This is exactly for that person. And at the end, of course, so you have like everything is now in very detail. And at the end, we need your commitment that you will actually do on yourself. Do you have time to invest in yourself? That's the questions. So I will stop now sharing the screen, and I'm open for the questions. Thank you. And Mumbi will facilitate the second part, so that's how we actually team splitting. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Nicola, for keeping it on time and sharing this experience with everybody. We have been very impressed with the work that you have been doing across the lab. I mean, it's amazing how, and I guess that this is an important thing that connects also with the work of Nish, Celine, and the group on making democracy accessible. It's that confluence of a particular group of people, right, that are tackling a very complex issue. You as a group end up deciding there is an entry point, there's an opportunity, there's a gap, right, but on this particular issue. Okay, activism, like people play around with it, like think about it. Sometimes we have even, as Nish said, projectize it, right, like particularly from the development work. In your case, like getting people into politics, so complex, so many dimensions, right? And that particular group of people with their different experiences and assessment of the gaps reaches to the conclusion there is an opportunity and a need here for people to have a better sense of what they need to focus on in terms of develop their profile and so on. When you show me this initially, I saw also the other side of the opportunity, which is when you assess and you realize you have all these strengths, those strengths can actually be shared. That can be part of capacity sharing in the way that you may be able to help other people that may lack them, right? Or are just starting their journey. You can even think these not like Jude and their capacities, but also how to interact between generations. And as you keep moving on, right, in life with experience, a baseline, interesting to discuss with others. I would love to open it up really quick. Is there any question that people may have about this? Please write it in the chat. We will honor it as we are discussing and we're breaking into groups. Let me quickly check if there is anything that we will do. Maybe like also, right, like if you have been thinking about getting people into politics, right, is this what you will have focus on, for example? What other things you will have focus on? Really quick question here from Muad, and again, I'm very sorry if I'm not able to get to all of them, right? Muad, you were saying like one of the main thoughts that came to mind while hearing all these great ideas is like how important it is to practice democracy and politics with an awareness of the historical state heritage we got, and the historical memory and identity sensitivities that exist within each society. I believe we are knowing in a good order, these backgrounds make us having a healthy practice and analysis. Thank you. Thank you for that comment. I'm sure that the teams will agree on that too in particular. If we don't have really quick any questions or direct questions right now, if you think about them, please share them in the chat. I'm just going to check with Tracy. Can we go really quick to a 10-12 minutes breakout rooms where we're going to discuss specific questions about these labs? We're going to propose the attendance one of these breakout rooms. This will help also closer discussion and engagement. I hope that you get to meet some of the members of the labs. Maybe some of the members of one lab are going to end up in the group with other lab, and that is a good thing. Okay, so please use this time to reflect, to exchange some ideas, to propose things. What we're going to do after this is we're going to invite you. If you haven't been part of the lab so far, but you're intrigued or you will be interested in being part of one of these labs or a different lab exploring a different question on democracy or climate, right? You are going to receive an invitation from us on this. I hope that you can join us and you can stay until the end so we can have not only the wrap up based on the discussion, but also some next steps that we're going to propose to you. Thank you. Team, can we go to breakout rooms really for 10 to 12 minutes? Thank you so much. Welcome back, everyone. Of course, we always run out of time in these kind of exercises, but as I share with the other group and in the general chat, we are very much eager, and I know that it depends in the end of your own availability and your generosity, but we will be very thankful if you can give us some feedback, right? Like not in the end for us as a hub, but to the groups, to the labs, right? On the work that they are doing in things in which they can explore using more effectively these tools, this work that they have been doing over the last few months. We're going to discuss a bit of next steps, but we need to close also because we respect also your time and we ask you already for about 2 hours. Thank you so much for staying, all of you. I'm going to pass really quick to Leah to see if she can just close us up. Leah has been instrumental. She's leaving us right now and we are heartbroken, but she is moving to greater pursuits for grad school, specifically in Scotland. Welcome, Leah. Thank you so much. And Leah has been coordinating the engagement between the labs and within the labs over the last few months. Leah, thank you so much.
Thank you. And thank you everyone for joining us today. And if you're watching this online at a later date, we hope that you'll join us in the future. We would always love to hear from you. We are ultimately a community, and a community requires participation from everyone. That's part of the joy. At the opening of this, we learned from Mario that the challenges we face in co-creating a radically inclusive and collaborative system are numerous and complex. But the collaborative work of the Community and Governance Action Hub and NextGen DIY especially has demonstrated, as Cherno noted in the beginning, that our problems are also shared. And to take from Nadia's icebreaker, we all bring special ingredients, perspectives shaped by our environment and community that are needed. So together, the NextGen DIY community added all these ingredients from all over the world and cooked up 2 new resources and tools for all of us. We know that everywhere youth want to engage in governance, and as Chin and Nish highlighted from the Artivism Lab's work, youth are more likely to do so when they feel welcome and when everything is engaging, communal, and accessible. Artivism is a great way to bring people into the movement and to give those who have been harmed by the system a way to reclaim their agency and power. But they have noted that this isn't enough to sustain or build on a movement. And fortunately, the Getting Into Politics Lab, as Nicola and Mumbi have highlighted, found ways to then help youth build on this agency. This lab provides the direction and a way to explore what skills they can strengthen to build on their movements and participate directly in the governance systems. And I will say, excitingly, in our small group, someone even brought up the idea of gamifying this, which I think is another way to merge these two together. We could definitely bring in some of the art created through Artivism into this capacitation. Everywhere we look, there are new ways to collaborate. And time again, these labs have underscored the value of connection. There are many different flavors and approaches to connect, and there are many ways to invite people into movements and to strengthen it, but the best dish requires all of us. So please continue to engage. We need you all. We will be sharing some links at the end of this and via email on how to access the Atlas, on how to get access to the skills assessment if you're interested in using that. Share your ideas on the Miro board or just email us. Any way you want to get in touch with us is the best way. And thank you all for your participation today. And for the kind words, Mario. Truly, I'm so grateful I got to work with you all, and I'm amazed by what you've been able to achieve. It's been wonderful, and you can't get rid of me that easily. I will be in touch.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much. And thank you everyone for joining. We're closing at 9 right now. In that sense, we're very thankful for your time. I'm just gonna make a short commercial here and then we'll cut, but we understand if you have to leave. I will not take it personal, okay? So I just wanna emphasize something, right? Like, this is not an endpoint, it's a doorway. It's an opening doorway, a portal, right? So in this way, we are officially opening the Governance Explorers portal to all of you, to other people that you may think that they may be interested, right? This portal is going to be a dedicated virtual space designed for change makers, practitioners, leaders to share common goals or face common challenges, to come together and form action labs. So the idea is that over time, we may have either action labs similar to these ones, exploring a different question, right? And will help you find people like you that are interested in the same kind of issues. Or you can join one of these existing labs around these questions and work with the people that have been already engaged, either in enhancing, expanding the use of the tools that have already been generated, the ones that we discussed today, or building over time an ecosystem or of engagement that includes also the country where you are. We're very excited about this prospect because one of the things that we learn is that it's so hard to do this coordination across different times and all. People need a way, a workspace that feels asynchronous, not just a social network where you just exchange information or post here and it's very much based on individual visibility. How can we test this kind of asynchronous workspace that help you connect, share material, and also pick up where others have been started maybe in a different part of the world. This is going to be experimental, it's going to be difficult, it's going to be messy, and that's okay. So we're rolling out a limited number of new action labs based directly on the interest and commitment from this community, from the Governance Explorers community. And here is our commitment to you. Any promising ideas generated within these labs that evolve into actionable projects or pilots will be actively promoted by the Governance Action Hub in coordination with you to help potentially secure some potential funding or partnerships or support, depending on what it is. whether you want to join one of the existing labs or propose a brand new lab, right? Like we're open to hear about this. Finally, I want to address my last word directly to our NextGen lab members, right? Our do-it-yourselves. Please, guys, be immensely proud of yourselves and what you're building. Proud of the individual ventures, the leadership you carry in your home countries, and proud of what you have created here in this messy, unorthodox, collaborative space. Thank you for taking a chance of us at the Hub, for trusting this process, for bringing your energy, your bravery, your vision every single day. You have been the engine of this work. We appreciate very much the time and the effort and the heart that you put on all this. Thank you for everyone for being part of this journey. We have an awesome rest of your day wherever you are. Goodbye, and let's keep building together, please. Take care. Bye.
Super.
Adiós. Nos
Thanks,
vemos.
everyone.
Adios. Bye,
Bye.
everyone. Jarama.
Ciao, crew.
Thank you.